folks, welcome to the channel. I'm Don. This is Rockin' the Country, where we're keeping traditional country, non-pop country alive. Could be Texas Red Dirt, could be Western, could be bluegrass, could be folk, but it's non-pop stuff. I am doing a gift request of Riley Green's song, Little Hank. I don't know it. Jackson Pearce made a gift to the channel for me to react to this one. So Jackson, shout out to you. Thank you, my friend, for this gift and the request. And I've done a number of Riley songs, and I think Jeff Cather might have been the one who introduced us to, well, there's so many songs that could be confusing it, but something said, Jeff, at some point I'm pretty sure you requested that I do one of Riley's songs. Was it a duet? Or I don't remember, but it's been a while, I think. But anyway, let's see what Riley's got for us with the song Little Hank. Anytime you hear the name Hank, you think Hank Sr. or Jr., but that may not be what it's about. All right, here we go. This sounds like a Jacob Herrick's request.
I was raised in the Bible Belt, strictly by the book. Mom and Daddy kept a real close eye on every step I took. I was told right from wrong in the eyes of society. But one day I sat Daddy down, said, you know, it just seems to me that all these things that we look down on, hell, to me just ain't all wrong. What's wrong with a little Hank? What's wrong with a couple drinks? What's wrong with going mud riding in my truck? Just as long as we don't get stuck. What's wrong with a long night? What's wrong with a bar fight? What's wrong with skipping class? Even if it's just to catch a bass. What's wrong with driving fast? If I buckle up, what's wrong with talking trash? If I knuckle up, what's wrong with causing a little bit of ruckus? If I make it to Sunday service, it's the way I want to live my life, and my country bloodlines to thank. What's wrong with a little Hank? I said, Daddy, can't you remember being my age? He said, let me tell you, son, seems like just yesterday that your grandpa sat me down and tried his best to straighten me out. He said, let me tell you, son, I'll tell you what life is all about. Don't tell your mama, but it's alright to have a little fun. I remember back in 65 and all the crazy things I'd done. There's nothing wrong with a little Hank. There's nothing wrong with a couple drinks. There's nothing wrong with spinning tires. There's nothing wrong with lighting bonfires. There's nothing wrong with a little smoke. There's nothing wrong with country folk. There's nothing wrong with getting stoned every now and then. As long as you know how to say when.
I don't get high.
We're sitting around with your buddies, sipping on something in a mason jar. Nothing wrong with getting cuddled up with a pretty young thing, as long as you don't go too far. It's the way you ought to live your life, boy. Your country bloodlines to thank. There's nothing wrong with a little Hank.
This is a total Jacob Herrick special right here. Jacob, I expect to hear from you on this one.
Who makes the rules right or wrong? What if I want to live?
Bible Belt would say God.
There's nothing wrong with a little Hank. There's nothing wrong with a couple drinks. There's nothing wrong with causing a little
I like
bit
this
of
delivery.
ruckus. If you make it to Sunday service, it's the way I want to live my life, and in my country blood lies a thing. There's nothing wrong with a little Hank. There's nothing wrong with a little Hank.
Yeah. It's fascinating that he contrasted that with the Bible Belt. All right, they say all this stuff is wrong. You're taught all this stuff is wrong, but what's wrong with all this stuff? I could say bar fights are probably undesirable. I mean, there's something wrong with bar fights. Does somebody ever say, I mean, is it just that someone every so often gets their ass kicked because they're out of line? Yes. But they were out of line. That's what's wrong about it. The other things, that's how I live. I mean, it's my approach anyway. I don't judge other people for how they live. It's tough getting through this world. And even to set against the theological ideas of God being a loving God and Judgment Day, even if you accept all that Judgment Day is happening and all this stuff, I just don't think it's going to be one of these things where it's like Anne Lamott said, that like many people's perception is God is like the high school principal in a gray suit unhappily rifling through your files. Something like that. And I think that that's a pretty accurate description about the way we perceive God as depicted in the Hebrew Bible and then on into the New Testament. Even though it says he's love, we get brimstone and fire preached. And it's like, well, wait a minute, this is a very difficult world in which to be born and live. There's a lot bad going on in this world. And then we become aware that we're going to die one day. Then we have to deal with that. So I get blowing off some steam, or I get having some fun. And I don't think that that's anything over the top. But I get the idea that parents have to sit on the kids because otherwise they would just go crazy. And you can't, so even if you yourself as a parent did stuff when you were younger that was out of line, which hopefully you did, you can't encourage that in your kid. You got to keep them in line. Otherwise, if you don't sit on them, if I didn't get sat on, then I would have, who knows to what extent I would have took my craziness. Yeah, I needed that. The coaches, I'll tell you, even in sports, I'll analogize it. The coaches that got the most out of me were the coaches I couldn't stand. They rode me so hard, and they weren't even right in half the stuff they would say to me during practice or what have you, and I hated it. And that's the one guy I could not stand. But they got the most out of me. Yeah, and it wasn't even because they liked me, but that's what I responded to in that. Like, drive me hard in sports, like work me hard. I'll fight. I'll be there for it. I may not like you, but I'll do it. I'll work harder. But all of that said, in life, I don't know. I'm pretty accepting of other people, the way they go about doing things, what they're doing. They're just trying their best to navigate the world. And who am I to say? I mean, moonshine? I had grain alcohol one time, and the thing about grain or moonshine, you don't taste it. You put it in Kool-Aid, it tastes like Kool-Aid. And then pretty soon you find out you can't even walk or speak. That happened to me once about 40 years ago. I'm like, I'm not doing that again. So that's what's wrong with a little bit of moonshine or grain. That's what he said, something out of a mason jar, and that's what he's talking about. All right, Jackson, man, you got me all wired up on this one, man. Is there anything wrong with getting wired up on a country song like this? I'd say no. I love the way he sang this. I love the little tenth of a second pauses in between some of the lines he sang. There were just certain purposeful things going on. Obviously, it was a jam. There was an organ that came in underneath it in the beginning. Then I lost track of it. It might have been there throughout the song, but I think that was an ode to the Bible Belt Church kind of organ. But the jam was on top of it. And that's what the song was about. What's wrong with it? Don't tell your mother I said this. Daddy said, look, just keep it between the buoys and you'll be just fine. All right, I'm coming in with a rating on this one, and I'm shocked that the number that popped into my head on this was a 9.4. This wasn't traditional country, but this certainly wasn't non-pop. This was non-pop country. this was red dirt to me. This was like countrified rock, rockified country, but the lyrics were all country. So there it is. Jackson, thank you again, my friend. That was fun. Have a great day. I'll see you on another video. Keep rocking the country.